The night changed everything without warning, the way a sudden storm changes the shape of a quiet town. It happened in a small American city, where streetlights hummed like tired guardians, and memories clung to sidewalks like old gum. Andrew had always believed some lines were never meant to be crossed, some feelings never meant to be named, and some people were safest when loved from a distance. But when he saw the look in her eyes that night, the kind that held fear, hope, and a silent plea all at once, he understood that leaving would break something that might never heal again. Before the story pulls you any deeper, take a second. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in the quiet power of showing up when it matters most, please like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Andrew had known Michael since high school, the kind of friendship built on late-night drives, cheap pizza, and promises made without thinking they would ever be tested. Michael was the brother Andrew never had, steady and loyal, the type of man who trusted without hesitation. And then there was Hannah, Michael's younger sister, though not younger by much. She had always been there in the background of Andrew's life, passing through rooms with polite smiles, growing from an awkward teenager into a woman whose quiet strength was impossible to ignore. Andrew had trained himself not to notice, not to linger, not to let his thoughts wander into dangerous territory. Respect mattered. Loyalty mattered more. Life, however, has a way of testing the rules we live by. Andrew returned to their hometown in Ohio after a failed job in Chicago and a relationship that ended without closure. He told himself the move was temporary, a reset. Michael welcomed him like no time had passed, offering the spare room, shared laughs, and the comfort of familiarity. Hannah was living there too, saving money while working long hours at a local clinic. She seemed different now, heavier somehow, as if carrying a weight no one else could see. Andrew noticed the tiredness in her posture, the way she paused before entering a room, the way her smiles didn't always reach her eyes. Days blurred into weeks, and the house filled with small moments that felt bigger than they should have. Late dinners when Michael worked overtime, shared coffee in the early mornings, long silences that felt strangely full. Andrew tried to ignore the pull, reminding himself that some connections were off limits. He focused on rebuilding his career, sending resumes, taking short-term work, planning his next escape. Leaving felt safer than staying. The night everything shifted arrived quietly. Michael was out of town for work, and a heavy rain trapped the world inside the house. The power flickered, leaving rooms dim and shadows stretched thin. Andrew found Hannah sitting alone at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, her hands clenched like she was holding herself together by force. Something about the stillness felt wrong. The air felt thick, loaded with words unspoken. He sat across from her, unsure why his heart was suddenly racing, unsure why the thought of leaving the next morning suddenly felt unbearable. Hannah had always been strong in ways that didn't demand attention. That night, the strength cracked. Without speaking, she let the truth show in her eyes. It was the look of someone who had been holding everything together for too long. The look of someone afraid that if they were left alone, they might finally fall apart. Andrew realized then that her quiet wasn't distance, it was survival. She had been caring for others at work, supporting Michael through his own struggles, and burying her grief after losing their mother the year before. No one had noticed how alone she felt because she never asked to be seen. Andrew stood up, already feeling the instinct to retreat, to respect boundaries, to do what he had always done. But when he moved, Hannah looked up at him, and that look stopped him cold. It wasn't romantic in a dramatic sense. It was human. It was raw. It said she didn't need saving, just presence. It said that tonight, leaving would hurt more than staying ever could. In that moment, Andrew understood that sometimes the bravest thing isn't walking away. Sometimes it's choosing to stay without knowing what comes next. He sat back down. No speeches, no promises. Just stillness shared between two people who finally let themselves breathe. The rain kept falling, steady and loud, like the world giving them permission to pause. Something shifted inside Andrew. The rules he had lived by didn't disappear, but they softened, reshaped by compassion. Loyalty, he realized, wasn't about avoidance. It was about honesty, timing, and care. Over the next days, things didn't magically become easy. Andrew and Hannah didn't rush into anything or label what they felt. They moved slowly, grounded in respect, aware of the fragile line they were walking. Andrew talked to Michael, not with excuses, but with truth. Michael listened, hurt but thoughtful, understanding that life rarely fits into clean boxes. Trust bent, but did not break. Love, in its many forms, found a way to coexist. Andrew postponed his move, then canceled it. He found work nearby, modest but steady. Hannah began to open up, little by little, letting herself be supported instead of always being the one who carried others. Their connection grew not out of secrecy but out of shared mornings, long walks, and the quiet joy of being understood. The night that once felt like a crossroads became the foundation for something honest and lasting. As the months passed, Andrew often thought back to that look in her eyes. It reminded him that life's most important moments rarely announce themselves. They arrive softly, asking us to choose who we want to be. He had almost left out of fear, out of habit, out of a belief that he didn't deserve something real. Staying changed him. It taught him that love doesn't always start with passion. Sometimes it starts with presence. If this story is reaching you on a quiet night or a heavy day, take a moment and share your thoughts in the comments before the ending. Your words matter more than you know. In the end, Andrew learned that respecting boundaries doesn't mean denying the heart. It means listening deeply, acting carefully, and choosing compassion over comfort. Hannah learned that strength doesn't mean standing alone. And Michael learned that trust, when handled with honesty, can grow instead of fade. The house that once felt temporary became a home again, not because everything was perfect, but because everyone chose to stay. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of a moment when staying mattered more than leaving, please like, comment, and share this video. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive and reminds others that even in the quietest moments, love can change everything.